We all worry about our messages, right? But what if the real privacy war isn't about what you're saying, but about the digital trail you leave behind just by hitting send? That's what we're diving into today. This wild, high-stakes arms race over your digital footprint and some of the super clever ways people are fighting to stay hidden. So, you're probably using something like Signal or WhatsApp, and you see that end-to-end encrypted label and think, okay, I'm safe, my messages are locked down. And you're not wrong, the messages themselves are scrambled. But here's the kicker. What if someone could build a crazy detailed profile of you without ever reading a single word of those messages? That's the rabbit hole we're going down.
And the whole problem, the real weak spot in all this digital armor we've built, it all comes down to one thing: metadata. You know, the sources we're digging into for this actually call it the Achilles heel of privacy. And when you see what it is, you'll get why.
All right, so what the heck is metadata? Simple. It's not what you say, it's everything around what you say. It's who you're talking to, when you talk to them, where you were when you sent the message, and how often you two chat. Just think about that for a second. An outsider might not be able to read your texts, but they could see you messaged a divorce lawyer at 2 in the morning and then a real estate agent the very next day. See? That trail of data can tell a super detailed story about your life, and they never had to decrypt a thing.
And this quote we pulled really just nails it. Every single time you hit send, you're creating this little breadcrumb that connects you, your identity, to what you're doing. So the real challenge, the big one, becomes how in the world do you break that connection?
So how do you even begin to solve a problem that big? Well, some really smart people came up with a beautiful, kind of genius solution. And it's all about layers. Lots and lots of layers. Let's peel back this thing called onion routing. Okay, so picture your message is a tiny secret note. First, you lock it inside 3 different digital safes, one inside the other. The first computer it gets to, we'll call it the entry node, only has the key to the outermost safe. It opens it, sees the address for the next computer, and passes it along. Then the middle node gets it. It has the key for the second safe, opens that one, and sends it on its way. Finally, the exit node unlocks the last safe, and your note gets delivered. It's basically a digital relay race where none of the runners know who started the race or who's going to finish it.
And this table here, this is where the magic really clicks. Look at that first node, the entry node. It knows who you are, it sees your IP address, but it has absolutely no clue where your message is actually going. Now jump down to the bottom. The exit node, it knows the final destination, but it has no idea who sent the message in the first place. And that guy in the middle? Totally clueless. It just sees 2 other random computers talking. The key is that no single point in this whole chain has the full story. It's brilliant.
So the most famous example of this in the real world, you probably heard of it. It's the Tor network. It's this huge global system that really pioneered this whole onion routing idea, and it's built completely on the goodwill of thousands of volunteers all over the world running these little relay computers. But that's also its biggest weakness. Relying on volunteers opens the door to a really nasty problem called a Sybil attack. Basically, one bad actor can create hundreds or even thousands of fake volunteers and flood the network with nodes they control. And here's the scary part. If they manage to control both the computer where your message enters the network and the one where it leaves, well, they can connect the dots. Game over. They can see who you are and where your data is going. Okay, so you're probably thinking that kind of attack must cost a fortune, right? Nope. Get this. Some research suggests that for as little as $400 a month, just using cloud servers, an attacker could run enough nodes to have a pretty good chance of de-anonymizing a lot of Tor traffic. I mean, $400 a month. That is a terrifyingly low price for that kind of power.
Well, that major economic flaw is what pushed the technology to evolve. And that brings us to Session. It's a messaging app built on a network that tries to fix Tor's big vulnerability. How? By ditching the idea of volunteers and replacing it with some serious financial incentives.
And this lays out the difference pretty clearly. With Tor, anyone can spin up a node for cheap, but with Sessions Network, it's a totally different ballgame. To run a node, you have to stake a whole bunch of cryptocurrency. Basically, you have to lock it up as a kind of security deposit. It creates this huge financial barrier, which makes those Sybil attacks we talked about ridiculously expensive. You're swapping a system based on trust for one based on cold, hard economic reality.
And when I say a huge barrier, I mean it. Back in 2020, to run just one of these nodes, you had to stake over $7,000. Now, remember that $400 a month figure for attacking Tor? The difference is just staggering.
To pull off a big attack on session, you wouldn't need hundreds of dollars, you'd need millions.
Okay, but of course, the arms race doesn't stop there. It never does. The defenses got stronger, so the attacks just got smarter. Adversaries figured out, hey, maybe we don't even need to control the nodes. What if we just watch the traffic itself? They realized they could learn a lot just by analyzing the patterns of the encrypted data, even if they couldn't read it.
This technique is called website fingerprinting. Here's a good way to think about it. Imagine you're listening to someone talking through a thick wall. You can't make out any of the words, but you can recognize their voice, the rhythm of their speech, the pauses. You know who it is. That's exactly what machine learning can do with encrypted traffic. It can be trained to spot the unique digital fingerprint of different websites. So even if the data looks like total nonsense, the pattern can give away where you're going.
And just how good is this technique? Well, in a lab setting, what they call a closed world, where the attacker knows the list of websites you might be visiting, these attacks can be up to 98% accurate. 98%! Now sure, it's a bit harder out in the wild, messy internet, but that number alone shows you just how powerful this kind of traffic analysis can be.
So naturally, the defenders had to fight back. Their whole strategy became, how do we make all traffic look identical? They started developing all these countermeasures to smudge those fingerprints, things like adding padding, which is just random junk data to hide the true size of a message, or making it so every single packet of data is the exact same size. And then you have mixnets, which get really clever by intentionally delaying and reordering traffic to completely mess up any timing pattern.
And this table gives you a perfect look at how one of these defenses works. This is from a system called Quetch. It literally doesn't matter what you're sending. Could be a single emoji, could be a whole essay. Quetch takes your message and crams in a bunch of padding until the final packet is exactly 8,192 bytes, every single time. So if you're an outsider watching the traffic, every message looks exactly the same. The fingerprint is gone.
And all of this brings us right up to the cutting edge of this battle, because this arms race is always evolving. New attacks pop up, so new defenses have to be invented. So what's on the horizon?
Well, it looks like there are three big frontiers to keep an eye on. First up is post-quantum security. This is all about getting ready for quantum computers that could, in theory, break our current encryption. Second, there's Layer 3 anonymity. Think bigger than just one app. This is about making all the internet traffic from your phone or your computer anonymous. And finally, there's a bigger push for mixnets. This is where you actually sacrifice a little bit of speed for almost perfect privacy by shuffling everything. It's a huge trade-off, but for some, it's worth it.
You know, when you step back and look at all this stuff, the onion layers, the crypto staking, the traffic padding, it can get pretty complex. But all of it is driving toward one really big goal. And this quote we found really sums it up: building a world where what you do online has nothing to do with who you are.
And that really just leaves us with one last big question. In this constant escalating arms race between those who want to watch and those who want to stay hidden, can privacy ever actually win? Or is this just a fight that's destined to go on forever?